Episode 256, They Call Him Mr. George. One day, Terence was helping Trevor out at the field when trouble arrived and came in the name of George. "George, what are you doing here? That's Mr. George to you." "Why would anyone want to call you Mr. George?" asked Terence. "Well, ever since that Great Eastern Break van met up with me with his green tank engine friend. I think his name was Bullfrog." "Toad," said Trevor, "and he's Great Western, and he's just that kind of engine who always calls people and engines Mr. and Mrs. because he's always so polite, unlike you." "For that," said George, "I won't be joining your silly little conversation." "Well, if you do any more trouble around us, why, your name will be Mud," said Terence. George growled and he rolled away. "Boy, George is such a meanie," said Terence. "I know," said Trevor. Oliver had been resting nearby and he saw George go past. And he thought to himself, "I wish I could pay George out," said Oliver. And he went off to find a train to pull. Later that day, George was rolling down the road when he saw Bertie. "George," said Bertie, "I have heard that you have not been very nice to Trevor and Terence. If you keep this up, your name will be Mud, from what they told me." "Pah," said George, "I don't need you to hear that from a bus like you." And George rolled away, and Bertie carried on with his work. George was then going over a level crossing when one of his back wheels got caught in the rails. "Oh, great," said George. "Now I'm stuck. This day just can't get any worse, can it?" Then the arm went down. "Uh-oh, I think an engine's coming." George's driver panicked, and there was no use trying to set George free, so the driver got out and ran for his life. The whistle belonged to Oliver, and he was pulling Hector and Toad. Oliver could not stop in time and ran into George, knocking him on his side. "That's what you get, George," said Oliver. "Don't worry, Mr. Mud," said Toad. "We'll get help after we deliver this coal." Oliver, Toad, and Hector headed off to deliver their coal, leaving an embarrassed George the Steamroller behind.